Hey everyone, Corey from Aquarium Co-op. Today we're focusing on fixing this problem and all the fry problem I have. I still have the algae with these small guys who've been growing up, and then now we've got these rainbows, so I pulled the mop from these guys, and we're hatching them out down here, and can we see any fry right now? Yeah, right down here, there's fry. All right? That's not a very efficient system when I could pull eggs from these guys every 5 to 7 days. So I've got corridor eggs, I've got those eggs, I've got other stuff I want to spawn. I'm running out of room in 10 gallons. So what does that mean? That means we're going to build something, and I've got lots of parts here, but I'm going to show you. We're going to build basically a modified version of Dean's fry tray. I'm going to use Lowell's fry trays. And so I've got a 20 long here that I just finished drilling, and I was like, wait, I should make a video on this. I'm going to put it on the forum with pictures as well. So I just drilled through this, used my favorite new drill, this little M12 guy. Somehow this thing is more powerful than the bigger Milwaukee drills I have. But yeah, so it had a background, what do you call that, like privacy film type of thing on it. It's a used tank. I grabbed it. Bronze show at the store. My store manager donated it for the cause. I said, hey, let me know when you need something. I'll get you back. But I drilled the hole really low. This is the top over here. I'm going to show you why. Show you a trick that you might not know on how you can set water level and keep it out of the way. So what does that mean, Corey? Like if you're not into this DIY stuff, you're totally lost at this point. I want it so that the overflow that I have to put in, like in these tanks, this tank's a good example. You see how that overflow sticks out? Well, I don't want that in the tank. There's a method to do that kind of outside the tank that I'll show you, and that's going to allow me to completely cover the surface with the breeder trays. Look at these guys. See, this size should be growing up here in a 40 breeder. Well, really a 10. Like these guys should have been at the 10. I need to move them so before they start snacking on the shrimp. As you can see, the shrimp are nowhere to be seen. And that's probably because they're getting hunted a little bit by these guys. But yeah, they need to move and finish growing up. Anyway, back to the original project. I'm going to get this set up here in reverse and kind of show you some things. You can see down below that piece of pipe that goes upward. Well, that's my drain. If we look at it from the top, I'm setting up auto water change. So I've got to get it down into there. You can see kind of this is what behind all my tanks look like. You can see I'm filling water with this little guy. That's my air line there. And we're going to set that up right here. So I'll cut to that here in a minute. All right, so this is basically the concept here. And I've drilled a hole. You guys kind of saw the aftermath of that. That hole sits nice down, nice and low. So my goal is to pull the water out, but I have to set the water level, and I'll show you how I do that on the outside. But why? Why, Corey? Why do the extra work? Well, I want to fill this whole top part with trays. So I basically want, 4 or 5 trays in here. And if I had to have the bulkhead up here with the overflow, it sticks out like 4 inches. You can see that probably on this tank. If we come over here and we look, you see how that sticks out? That's about 4 inches, there to there. And so I would not be able to put one on that tank. And so this is going to allow me to maximize this and show you guys a trick with also showing you this super easy fry method system, which you don't have to have auto water change. You do have to have a little bit of air, which we're going to go over. And you have to buy these trays, or I've been 3D printing them. So I'll show you guys, kind of that as well. I've been printing parts, just printed this one. I'm working with different lengths. You can see this one's longer than this one. You can see this one's black versus white. White grows algae and shows it, but you can see the fry real easy. I've never tried black yet, so I'm going to see if, once I get a light on this thing, a real dim light, how do I like viewing fry from that? Oh, they're invisible? Oh, it's fine. I don't grow algae. We'll learn together. So what I need to do is get some parts ready, basically. And we need to come out of this bulkhead. We need to go up to the rim, basically. So up, over, and then back down. And what that means is the water level, when it gets pumped in, will have to come over this little hump and go back down. Hard to visualize unless you've seen it in person. I struggled with it a long time. And I never had practical applications till recently because it's a lot of work to pull this off. But we'll show you, and then it'll probably make some sense. So I'm going to build some parts and get to showing. All right, so what you're looking at is the back side of the tank. And this is how you set up an overflow that will be at the level of this. So what happens here? Basically the water comes in. Let's go from the side shot here. I wanted to show you guys this because you won't be able to see it once it's installed, right? So water comes in low, okay? Way out of the way of all of my things will be sitting in there. And as the water level rises, the water level in this pipe will also rise, right? Eventually, it's going to overflow, right? So it's either going to overflow this aquarium or this pipe. And so the pipe we can use to set the level. Now, you saw me just adjust it there. The water is going to come up slowly, and right when it gets to the inside of that pipe, it's going to start going over here, and it'll go down to the drain, right? So we only need to, basically, let me grab a part here. We only need to get it to go right to the bottom of this. And so when you're lining it up, you're looking at your trim, kind of going, well, where's the bottom of, where's the corner at? If you put it up here, your tank would overflow before it would ever go over that corner. So we put it down here. So you could see, basically, on mine, it's going to be somewhere in the trim. Now, when you build it, because you're going, Corey, you got to get that right on. And yes, you do, but you can adjust it technically even after you've glued. So let's say, I really, really want it to be a little bit higher or a little bit lower. Well, the good news is you could loosen the nut on the bulkhead and pretend this is all glued up because it's not glued yet. You could shift it. And so if you shifted it this way, now all of a sudden, this is the point. So it went up higher, and you could make it, quite a bit higher if you really had to. You don't want to be that far off, but you could. Likewise, if you needed to go lower, you could keep, this would now be the low point. You keep dropping this. You could technically have it be that low if you wanted. But we want it to basically be, it's kind of loose there. We basically want it to be right where I need it to be and get this water to drain all the way into there. So I wanted you guys to make sure you saw that part. And I'm sure there's lots of questions. Dean and I have only been playing with this. I think Dean's done under 10 tanks. This is my second tank ever plumbing this way. They've all worked. But yes, you have to have extra clearance on the outside of the tank. It doesn't have to come out this far, but in fact, my table is so deep that I'm going to use this pipe, but it was easier to show you guys with a short pipe. So mine's actually going to stand out like that far so that my flexible PVC hose will actually be able to go into the drain. And I'll try to show you guys that without breaking. I almost broke my tank again. That's good. It's always good when you make yourself extra work when you're trying to show people stuff. So let me get stuff out of the way here. Stay. If we look at the actual tanks that I've got over here, can you see it? Not really. Darn it. Well, that's how all my tanks are done. Yeah, you can see it up here, I guess. Flexible into the black ABS pipe. So that's what we're going to do on this one. I can't raise the ABS pipe high enough without rerouting stuff because I have airline pipe right down here. So I'm going to run a little bit longer of the PVC pipe. But yeah, so now it's time for me to set the camera down and glue it all up, which that I don't have enough hands to do that and, be under this and behind it and all of that. So you'll have to take my word that I actually glued it, and then when it's draining water at some point, you'll be like, hey, you actually did it. So yeah, again, pretty simple concept, a little bit daunting, but once you've done it a couple times, like, hey, this has practical applications where if you've never done anything like this, normally we would just drill this higher and you put an elbow and it'll set the level wherever you set it and then it just goes out. So, a little bit of consideration, but an option if you've never played with this before. and you've needed like, oh, I don't want stuff inside the tank. That's a good way to do it. All right, so I've got it glued in place, and from here, boy, I basically DIY'd it. I DIY'd it, where all you see is that little piece of black, like it's supposed to. That's the correct install. There's no better install than that, basically. The problem is, I went cheap, and I was like, I like saving the black PVC. No reason to use it, right? You guys saw me build it in white. And then as I walk up to, like, let's say I was going to use these trays, dang it, now I see these 2 white pipes. So, didn't quite get the Dean level. I could have, I know I use flex piping, but I could have made this pipe go down in black past, I could have done it like down to here, then done flex, and I could have done technically all of this in black. So, not the end of the world. I just didn't quite achieve Dean status, but I got real close to Dean status on that. So now, I want to get water flowing into here. So typically we put water in on the opposite side of where we drain. Since I have a drain right here, I want water to come in here. And instead of running a whole crazy system, I'm going to cheat. And Dean came up with this idea, and I was like, oh yeah, genius. I originally bought like 1 billion of these, and I've never gotten to use them because we do that big old pipe back there. But I'm basically just going to tee off this one and have it come over here and feed in. So I'll drill a hole, and I'll make that cut with some, like little PVC pipe cutter things. And yeah, we'll see if we can't get some water cranking into this thing. So I'm gonna work on that next. All right, so I made a little piece that I drilled a hole, a little rigid piece. That's what this is. This is called rigid airline tubing. You can get it on Amazon, that kind of stuff. And it's kind of expensive to ship because it's 3 feet long. But I cut it with, these guys cut it really well. The Klein, these are like tubing cutters. This is just a really good pair, which I have on my Amazon link. So if you're looking for a good pair, I got a link to them. And then I love this thing. This is like a craft version of a heat gun. So this is the Seek one, as they're calling it. Again, it's on my tool list. But what I like is it has this little bendy thing. And so I basically turn it on, so you can kick it on. And you can take a piece and kind of put it right in there, and you'll watch it get bendy here in a second. There we go, it's bendy, right? You can see I could bend it some, and it would stay that when it cools down. I'm not going to hold it there because I'm probably going to want to do something else with it, but kind of a cool way to start, making some custom pieces if you're into the DIY thing in the fish room. So now, I don't have air yet, that'll be the next thing, but I want to test. I guess I didn't show you my my little adapter here. So you can see I added that T right there. And now we're going to test for a minute. We'll do a minute test with the water change system. So you can see here, water change, come on, update. And we'll go with, this would be the 40 breeders. And we're going to do a quick 1 minute test. And we'll see. It'll probably sputter for a second, and then there we go, look at that. Water is now flowing into the 20 long. Still getting plenty of flow in all the 40 breeders, all the way down the line. And yeah, so now I've got auto water changing. And I guess once you build the system, for people that haven't had it before, once you build the system, it's very convenient to add more tanks and do more things. It's way easier than originally designing the system. But you could see how nice that'll be. Like, wow, you never have to change fry on the baby tanks. Literally, I could change 1,000% a day, or none, or whatever I want. And yeah, so now I'm going to work on air. All right, so for air options, I went to my local corner store and here in the fish room, and I've got 2 options really. One is the metal air valves, and I use those primarily around the fish room. You can see here that you can just, flip the valve, air's coming out, and that runs my brine shrimp hatcheries and stuff, right? And so I could reroute this pipe and the pipe that you see coming out from here that goes down. I could reroute that and add a black piece of pipe through here and mount these air valves. Now, because this might get bigger, this is a 20 long, I might go 33 long, I'm not going to permanently mount it, so I'm not going to do this one yet. Instead, I do have an extra air line right there that comes over here. Let me grab it. So I've got this extra air line that I can simply connect with this, and you can daisy chain these a little bit. Now, you can't go so crazy. Like, these trays don't use very much air. I would not try running 4 sponge filters off of this necessarily. Like, you gotta have a lot of air pushing, and knowing that it has to fight with all the other things in the system, I'm willing to basically do this. Now, you can also supercharge one of these if you didn't know. You could power air from this end and this end. So if, let's say, I really did want to run 4 sponge filters or something super deep, I could then take another airline from over here, go under the table, and kind of have 2 power in this thing. But instead, I'll probably daisy chain, because I think about 5 of these trays are going to sit in here long term. That being said, things may evolve, and so I'm going with temporary install for right now. All right, I just wanted to show you water level clearly above the bulkhead, but not enough to overflow yet. So I just wanted to show you that it can hold water before I do that. I just installed the little manifold, the air valves. So I've got 8 of them, which is about what I'm going to need by the time I put all the trays in and use little specimen containers for Corydora eggs and things, which I'm actually going to move that over kind of right now. I'm going to fill this tank, and I'm going to get some stuff staged so that it's ready for fry, because I've got fry coming. And that's the whole point. All right, so I couldn't have been moving this sooner. I have fry. I'm going to kind of try to show you guys. I don't have lights set up yet, but can you see? Focus. You can see the fry kind of squiggling around in there. Kind of, right? So they've hatched out. They need to be transferred. Let me see if I can, I don't know if I can focus in. It's so hard to focus in on that. There we go, we got some focus. You see that fry that's right there, in and out of focus? If I move a little bit, it goes out of focus. But they've hatched out. You can see them kind of right there. Are you one too? You look like one. They still got their yolk sac. So you see like that bubble? That's a fish. Not on the left, but on the right. Right in the center. That bubble is what they're going to feed on for the next couple of days. Now, why'd we build this, Corey? Well, so you can take them out of the methylene blue. So we did that so the eggs didn't fungus. Now, we would put them into something like this. And so the water's bubbling. We can take that out. So you can see, like that would be a mess, obviously. As you can see, like, oh, wouldn't that go out of the tank? It would. That's why this cap piece exists. But I can turn that up or down just right here. You see how it's throwing water on the wall? We don't want that. You can also turn it down to the most gentle flow. You could have it so it might only swat this water out once a day if you've got really, really delicate fry. And so you put your cap back in, and that would be moving a little bit. I like to be able to visually see it or hear it a little bit, so I can see like, oh, there's a bubble every once in a while, right? So that's pretty good. Ooh, do we get a better view from up top? I think we do. If it'll focus on it. This is camera versus, real life here. But if you see those little sticks, those are fry. Not the greatest setup using a cell phone. I wanted to point out a couple more things here. I used these cable clamps that Dean is a fan of, and that allowed me to mount the manifolds, the air valve in the 4-piece. Now, I could add more, right? You could just be like, oh, I added another one on because I built a bridge with a little piece of tubing right between the two. So fully expandable, because this, I'll have all of these have air going, but then for every one of blue I'll have going, I will also have like an air stone, or weighted ones probably. That's what I use. And this on the outside. One cool little trick it happens to fit the rim and the little holder of Lowell's things. So that's where the water comes out. I need to put a sponge in before I lose my fry. I gotta grab that, which I happen to have right here in this white one. And so you buy a little piece of sponge like this. This one's not very clean, but in it goes. Now fry safe. So yeah, I'm probably gonna work on getting these transferred, set up a few more things. I'm gonna try to set up a light, which hindsight being 2020, should have left myself a little bit. I might bump this out a little bit. You can see the water level. I did fill it up all the way. This is the water level it will sit at, which is basically perfect for this setup. But yeah, light is next. Let's get light going. All right, I'm gonna probably print some 3D brackets for holding this light. It's a 36-inch light. At some point, I might turn it into a 30-inch light so it fits this well. But I also might do a move like this where when I'm hatching eggs, I can light the end. You see how that would light up? So we'll see. We'll see how that evolves. In terms of seeing the fry in action in here, so now you can see kind of the stained blue eggs, casings that I'll take out if they focus. Let's get into macro mode here. You see that? Then you see the babies with their egg sac. They're not going to eat for a few days still. That might be one that didn't make it or something, or just, but, can we see them in the black? I think we can. Will the black grow less algae? I don't know. We're going to find out. So if we look over here, I would say where they're not in the light, which the light needs to be raised up, but back here, let me try to focus. It's definitely hard to see them in the corner. But I'm hoping that with the naked eye, and if this was raised up to here, let's say, I think you'd get a lot better handle on it. But I'm going to test both black and white with fry, and I'll get a consensus and I'll reprint in the color I want. Lowell only sells them in white, so Dean only uses them in white. Corey, are you better than them? Definitely not. No, I'm not saying I'm better. I like to test things though, and that's what I do. So I'd say this is mission accomplished so far. I'm going to chime in with some more fry. I'm going to get more set up and give you kind of an overall setup. It'll probably take a week or something, which it'll be in this video, so I'm just going to fast forward. All right, well, it's been like a week now. I fast forward. And you can see I've got the fry growing out there. I've been testing out, so trying to see what color I like. And so I've got black here, a little bit hard to see the fry, and my calcium, my hard water, shows on here. So that's not great. And then in the white, you get the brown kind of algae look to it. So that's not entirely great either. I'm going to try some gray ones now. So I've got gray filament on the way. I'm going to try that. Been playing with some other just prototype type of stuff. This one doesn't have the air lift, so you can hear the air, obviously. That's showing up on live streams and that kind of stuff. And so I've got to switch to a quieter system, which might be this A-frame system. And so I'm testing out some different types of tray that don't have air lift, and we'll just put water into it. Again, you can see this one's printed in white, and this specific one that we're working on uses our little pre-filter sponge, the minis. So it just fits in the corner, and then the water would be fuller. So, but I'm not going to fill it up yet. I just want you to notice this oil slick on here. We'll talk about that in a second. So now I'll fill it up. So as I fill it up, you'd have like we have a power head pumping water to all of these is what would happen in this scenario. And it would overflow and go out like that. So what's the problem, Corey? So after doing all this, what did I learn? I learned that if I don't put air in the tank, you'll get this this film on the top. Because we're not skimming from the top anymore. We skim from down low, right? Right down there. And so even though this saved us the room, we have this problem. Now, I think this is going to be solved once I switch to the pumping version. Or I could easily solve this by putting a sponge filter or even just an air stone. If I was to take this air stone and just let it run in there for a day, you can see it's already breaking it up. I don't know if you guys can see that, but another reason why I think an air source in a tank is just so important. You can just see it breaking it up, and that's just, you know, real time. It's not even turned up that much. Like I just, you know, it's just, but yeah, it's really doing a number. Let's see if I can zoom in on that protein film. And it's from the proteins from foods, by the way, is what does that. And so all those little pops on the bubbles. So how do you get rid of protein film? This is kind of a extra. You can see this in planted tanks where they're injecting CO2 and not disturbing the water. Well, if you put even just air like this in, the bubbles that are popping, it'll take the protein and deposit it on surfaces. So your glass lids, all that kind of stuff. The other trick, which I'll try and show you guys, I got to get a paper towel. Let me grab that real quick. So the other trick in a bind, usually this will work, is you just take a paper towel and you lay it on the surface, just like that. And the proteins bind to the paper towel. You lift it back off, and there basically went all the protein. Now you can still see there's some over here. We didn't put the paper towel, but that's one way quick you can get protein film off the top. So if I needed, because I've got it in this, right? So you can see I don't have it by the outlet. I do have it a little bit here. If I was to grab another paper towel here, and let's say it'll come back when you feed, by the way, but you want to get rid of it for filming or just you had a reason, you just put it in, and you can kind of see it's lifting it off, and you pull it up and out of the way, get that in the sink, and you've taken the majority of it away. You can see just where we didn't touch down is where it still remains. Now, you might be saying like, oh, I don't want this problem, Corey. Like, one, you'll have air in the main tank and it won't be pumping it in. Two, you can run it higher than I can. Obviously, I can't have that on video. So let me turn that back down. I'm trying to keep it kind of as low as I can here. And I didn't run into this problem, by the way. I did not run into this problem when this was mounted on a normal tank. Only in this cycled setup. So that's just something to know, is there's technically no filtration in here yet either. So, it just dawned on me like, durr. So I've been trying to wait to get these guys to hatch out. They've been hatching out, and they've passed away. And I was like, oh, maybe they're just not eating the food. And I was feeding them infusorian stuff. It just dawned on me, there is literally no cycle filtration. The most cycled thing in here is this yarn, this spawning mop. But you can see, well, let me try to zoom in. There's eggs, and they hatched out, but they didn't survive for me. And I was kind of like, well, why not? Let's see if I can get that to zoom. Enhance. So you can see the eggs there. And most of them did hatch, and I had some fry. But I don't have a seasoned tank. So that's this whole fry system. In fact, I'm going to solve part of this problem right now. This is a sponge I just took out of another tank. So I at least have some. I will probably hook that up here. In fact, I am going to hook that up right now. 1 second. All right, I've hooked up the sponge filter real quick here. Not going very fast. I want to minimize these bubbles actually until I get it fully set up, I guess. And so I wanted to show you, while I got you right here, this is turned down. I can turn it down more, but if I let it go full blast, it'll just almost boil water over. So let me crank it up. Like, this is just clearly not good for this system this much. But you can get this with a linear air piston pump, and if you put like an overflow on it. Okay, now I gotta try it. If I put an easy flow kit on it, can I lift water into this? I gotta try. I'll be right back. All right, so with that much air, can definitely airlift. It's probably way too much, and I'm lifting it far more than I need to. So obviously I can optimize this, and I don't want to overflow this whole container like it's about to do. So we're gonna turn this way down, and really we can get away with something as little as this. Let me push this down. Yeah, let me pull that, fix the tubing here. So yeah, I'll move on it over here so that way it could flow. Yeah, so technically you could take just about any container and an easy flow with a strong pump, by the way. You gotta have a fairly strong pump. to pull that off, and really it's real fine adjustment. So let me see if we can get it, like we want real low. Can we get just, so that's kind of not enough. That's something, but if I crank it, like it almost overshoots it. So, and so what I will point out is, like, Lowell's tray doesn't have the super fine bubble thing, and so how quiet would it be without those running? It'd be this quiet. You can actually hear this more. If I turn that off, you now have a very quiet system. So for me, for filming, that's what, you know, when I designed kind of easy flows and stuff, and I like this room to be real quiet while I film. And yeah, so as you see with it turned down, it's only even coming out part of it. As you crank it up, let me crank it up some more here. So as you crank it up, it comes out all around, and that's how you get that. The bubbles are uniform. That's the key part to airlift systems. They're not combining into big glug, 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 glugs, and that's the key element to this. There's no back pressure when it goes glug and then comes back in. It's just one nice solid motion. Now if you put too much air, it will start to glug, but it looks like going through my little double manifold system, I can't push enough air through it. But yeah, you can see also this is above the aquarium, so you could do above tank filtration. You could fill it with stuff, make an extra filter, all that kind of stuff. You want to play with that, but yeah. So we're gonna turn it down. We're gonna get finished. Basically, this video's over, and yeah, I think filtration's gonna make it so when I pull the next batch of eggs, which I could do right now, they'll probably raise up. And maturity, 60 days. It's been a week, and so even though these guys have been making it, I'm kind of lucky because I just kind of rushed into it. Oh yeah, I'll do the video, it'll be fine, and then without thinking, brand new tank setup. And so now I've got filtration because that was only out of a tank for like 10 minutes while I was working on something else. So, all right. Hopefully you guys learned a thing or two. Maybe the overflow, maybe the easy flow, maybe about the Lowell trays, maybe about this A-frame system that I'll probably do a video down the road. I ordered the wrong heater. I thought this was the Wi-Fi one. Turns out it's the normal Eheim one. It's the Thermal Control E, and you need the Thermal Control Plus E. So, got bamboozled. All right, we'll see you around.